You're 23. Same paycheck. Same $2,140 after tax. Same Monday morning coffee in a paper cup. Two people, same number landing in two different accounts. This is where it splits. Ethan follows the rule. Derek follows the feeling. Ethan opens a second account the same week. No debit card attached. No app notification. $180 moves there automatically the day the paycheck lands. Before rent, before anything. It feels like nothing. That's the point. The system doesn't care how it feels. It cares that it happens. Derek opens a savings account too. Deposits $150. 3 weeks later, moves $100 back out for a concert ticket. Nobody would call that a mistake. It's just a normal Tuesday decision. But there's a cold name for normal Tuesday decisions made without a rule behind them. They're called leaks. And leaks don't announce themselves. They just accumulate somewhere you're not looking. Ethan has $2,160 sitting untouched. Derek has $340. Same income, same city, same rent, give or take $50. The gap isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's one rule, followed or not followed, 12 times. Ethan gets a raise, $3,200 a year before tax. Doesn't touch the lifestyle. Redirects the entire raise into the same untouchable account. Derek gets the same raise. Upgrades the apartment. Nicer building, closer to the train, $110 more a month. Reasonable? Defensible. Every choice sounds reasonable in the moment it's made. That's exactly why discipline can't run on moments. It has to run on structure that doesn't ask how you feel first. By 26, Ethan has crossed $9,000. Watches the market dip 8% in the same month. Doesn't sell, doesn't check the account for 2 weeks. Machiavelli never trusted a man's nerve under pressure, only his structure. Ethan has a structure. He doesn't panic because it was never given the option to. Derek, same month, checks the account daily. Sees a card balance instead of an investment balance. $1,400 across 2 cards, 24% interest, minimum payments made on time, principal barely moving. Not because Derek is careless. Because nobody ever told Derek that a minimum payment isn't a plan. It's a tax on not having one. Age, 28. This is where the gap stops being a number and starts being a different life. Ethan has $34,000 invested and 0 debt. Has never once discussed money at a dinner table, because the first law here is simple. What grows in silence grows undisturbed. Derek has $2,200 in savings and $6,800 in combined debt. Still employed, still capable, still, by every visible measure, doing fine. That's the part that should unsettle you. Derek looks identical to Ethan from across the room. This was never about how you look. It was about what's underneath the look. Age 30. Ethan buys a small duplex. Not glamorous. A tenant pays 10 days late in month 4. A water heater fails in month 9. $780. Paid from a reserve built for exactly that reason. Because the plan accounts for the version of the future where something breaks, not the version where nothing does. Net cash flow after the dust settles. $640 a month, arriving whether Ethan works that month or not. Derek, same age, takes a trip. Not reckless, earned by most people's definition. $2,600 on a card already carrying a balance, paid down over 8 months. Around this time, a coworker mentions Derek works so hard. Someone else says maybe he sends money home. Nobody says the real reason, because the real reason isn't visible on a balance sheet at a lunch table. It's visible on a bank statement nobody else will ever see. Age 34. Ethan's net worth, $186,000. 2 properties, a brokerage account that's never been touched, and a job that's becoming optional rather than necessary. Ethan hasn't told a single person the number. Second law, money discussed is money diluted. Every explanation you owe someone about your finances is energy you didn't have to spend, spent anyway. Derek's net worth, $11,000. Not a disaster, not a crisis. Functional, employed, paying every bill on time. This is the part nobody prepares you for. You can do everything that looks responsible and still be standing in the same spot 15 years later, because responsible and strategic were never the same word. A layoff sweep hits the company. Half the floor gone by lunch. Both Ethan and Derek get the same email on the same morning. Ethan stands in the parking lot holding a box and does the math, already knowing the answer. 11 months of expenses covered without touching a single investment. Not comfort, control. The two aren't the same thing, and this whole approach never confuses them. Derek stands in the same parking lot. 6 weeks of severance, 11 weeks until the next paycheck actually arrives. The gap gets covered by a card at 22%. Nobody chose this outcome on purpose. It was chosen 13 years earlier, one untracked Tuesday at a time. Age 41. Ethan's structure produces $3,400 a month without Ethan doing anything that week. That's not a bonus. That's the entire point of everything that came before it. Every automated transfer, every ignored market dip, every silence at every dinner table where someone else was talking about their car. None of this was ever about deprivation. It was about building something that finally stops requiring your presence to function. Derek is current on every bill, still working, still capable, still fine, genuinely fine, by the definition most people use. But the floor's thin, and thin floors don't announce themselves until the day something lands on them at the wrong moment. Here's what this actually comes down to, stripped bare. It was never about the paycheck. Both of these people had the same one. It was never about intelligence, or luck, or who worked harder. By most accounts, Derek worked just as hard, maybe harder. It was one decision, repeated without exception, long enough that it stopped being a decision and became a structure. And structures don't need willpower. They just need to already be built before the moment that tests them arrives. Machiavelli said fortune favors the bold, but he never said fortune favors the loud. The boldest financial decision most people will ever make is the one nobody sees them make. The automatic transfer on the day the money arrives, before the noise gets a vote. You are 23 again, same paycheck as both of them. The account is empty right now, and the decision hasn't been made yet. That's the only thing that's actually true about every person watching this. The number is different for everyone. The decision isn't. If this is the first time you've seen the gap laid out like this, understand, this is the surface. What comes next on debt, on silence, on what to do the day the money actually starts to compound, that's not a 5-minute conversation. That's why this channel exists. Subscribe if you're done being Derek and pretending you're not.